Okay, here's the page I was talking about. Look at Warblade's face up close here. I think that there's distinct Barry Windsor Smith qualities to the layouts here. The rest of the page, not so much. I don't notice it as much, but I'd say that's a BWS right there. If you guys disagree, let me know what you think in the comments. Also, remember to like and subscribe. Press the bell and all that. Alright, next book is also upside down. And we have some latter days Wildcat stuff. This is after Travis Charest and Richard Friend had left the series. And we have interiors by Sean Phillips. Here we go. He's, I'd say he's kind of a workhorse artist. I don't really get excited for his actual artwork. I mean, it's semi-impressive, but I really go for the stylized realism, not so much the heavy shadows and stuff on everybody. But that's just me. I know he had a nice run on Hellblazer as well. Once again, let's show the cover here. Alright. Next, I see a Farscape ad. Oh, and it's another issue of those Wildcats. Well, you already know what to expect with that, so we'll just put that aside. Okay, here's a little something different. This is Dustin Yin and Richard Friend on the Authority. This was during the time when the series kind of fell apart, and they kind of had to scramble to get some issues done. Let's take a look at the interiors on these. There you go, nice epic stuff that you come to expect from reading the Authority. That was set really early on by Brian Hitch and Warren Ellis. I'd say some of their Authority stuff even had that epic quality to it. Here we go. Now, I haven't read this in a while, so I don't remember the plot, but I think the team was replaced by a bunch of stand-ins for a few issues. I don't know if that was in these or in the follow-ups by Arthur Adams. Let's see. Here's some more epic POV shots. Alright, and let's see what we got next. Oh, speaking of Arthur Adams, here's Negan from The Walking Dead, as portrayed by Arthur Adams. Another artist, not him, but the interior artist, Charlie Adler. I've never really been that blown away by his art. I was surprised to see there is an Art of Charlie Adler book out there. I think it's based on the success of The Walking Dead. I just think he's the right man for the job at this point. He's not really like blow you away or anything, but he pulls off shots like this. That's pretty cool. All right, next we have. Let's see. Here's the background. This is all I've seen so far. All right, and then this is actually The Authority by Arthur Adams, coincidentally. Okay. Here we go. This is what I like about Arthur Adams. Everything looks so stylized and cool. I think that impressed a lot of the Image guys at the time too. Before this time even, like Image. This is an Image book, and Image had not existed when he was impressing the Image guys. Here we go. Really cool stuff. This is written by Mark Millar, Miller, I guess, he went on to bigger and greater things. He went on to Hitman, at least, and just Hitman. Then we have another Wildcast. This is Joe Casey and Sean Phillips again. This is C.O. Boxes. This cover is, I believe, by J.G. Jones. Yeah, there we go. All right, here's an advertisement for the Mad Magazine website, I guess, at the time. Then here's more Talking Heads. It's kind of ho-hum, boring stuff, in my opinion. I never actually read these. I don't have enough interest in writers / artist books. I prefer books that are written and drawn by the same person. That's not a universal rule. A good example of that would be Dick Blaster. I think that's a great book written by one guy and drawn by somebody else. But there's always exceptions. I also love all those Arthur Adams books, and the Chris Claremont X-Men is obviously all drawn by a cornucopia of different artists, and I recommend like pretty much all periods of his run. Like Mark Silvestri, Dan Green was the inker on his books and probably a lot of other people's books, and Jim Lee, and before that John Romita and Paul Smith, and of course we have the classic John Byrne and Jim Cockrum stuff, and I obviously recommend all of that. Okay, here's another book. Now this is Robbie Morrison and somebody Irving. Let's see who the Irving is. Oh, okay, Fraser Irving. I didn't realize he did that. This cover looks like Ashley Wood to me. I'm not sure. See if they have credits inside here. No, I don't see any, but let's take a look at the art here. I know Fraser Irving by his name only. This is, I think, was a book that I bought during the period when I was slowing down on reading. And I decided to give it a shot, but then I never got around to actually reading it. That looks okay there. They're going for that same impactful big league kind of artwork here. I don't know. I think it's somewhat lacking. I'm sure Fraser is a nice guy. He's done a lot of great things since here, but I'm not that impressed by this artwork. Okay, next we have DC Universe Zero. This was written by, I think, by Jeff Johns and Grant Morrison. Now, Grant Morrison has lost a lot of interest with me lately. I think maybe it comes with age. I'm just not impressed by his antics anymore. However, check out these great shots. That's pretty cool. Let's see, who is the artist? They credit the writers, but not the artists. Here's an epic team battle picture. I'm starting to think this might be drawn by another variety of artists, because that does not look like the guy that came before. I thought it was George Perez, but I'm not 100% sure. I bet you there's a page with the artist credits in the back. Here's one with very, very thin panels. It seems like thin panels for the sake of thin panels, as opposed to actual good storytelling. Double ads. Another cool shot. I'll do that. The Spectre there, using his magic. Alright, let's go right to the back here. Let's see if there are credits. Okay. Yeah, there are pencils by George Perez, Doug Mankey, Tony Daniels, Ivan Reese, Aaron Lopresti, Philip Tan, Ed Bennis, Carlos Pacheco, and J.G. Jones again. Alright. Well, you never know what you're going to get in these blind stack reviews, huh? Like, I believe this is Civil War II. There you go. This is probably issue 1. Yep, issue number 1. I believe, I know Steve McMillan drew the first one. This is somebody else. This is somebody named Marquez. Let's see. Wow. After flipping the first page, there's already an ad for M&M's. Here, I'll show you that. Oh, another ad already. Welcome to the Disney era, I guess. Yeah, okay, David Marquez. I thought that was his name, but I didn't want to guess. Let's see. There's a lot of variant cover artists that I'm not impressed by any of their names. But look at that. What a waste of space this is. You got two ads and you got double page spread for the credits. It's like I don't think Civil War Two was received all that well. Okay, one page flip, and we've already got an Overwatch advertisement. Oh boy, who wants to watch a window to Earth? Flip one whole page and you get another ad. I see Thor's in there. Hey, anyone see a trend here? Okay, so I think we're like 6 or 7 flips in now, and we come to our first page that has no ads. That's kind of pathetic. This book was $5.99, and this was what, 2011? I would imagine, or sometime around then. Okay, now we're coming up to the part where there is no ads. The art's pretty good. I really couldn't get a feel for the art on those pages with just single page art on them, to be honest. There you go. The trend of this period of time seems to be the epic destruction era. This page is colored pretty darkly here. I can't really make out a lot of the detail, and I can't be asked to do that. Okay, some dark panels, a few light panels here. Oh, so I dropped my remote. There it is. All right, I'm gonna flip one more page. All right. Do you think that panel really deserved a full page? I don't know. I think Bendis is running on empty here. Sorry, I'm just looking ahead because I'm considering where Bendis came from and how much his storytelling has evolved. This seems like a lot of filler for him. I'm used to like pages with like 20 panels on them. I'm not getting that from the first issue. Of course, I hadn't read Bendis in years since this. Well, here's the ending. Spoilers, huh? Ooh, Iron Man flying. I've never seen that before. That deserves a full page spread, huh? Not that I'm judgmental or anything. Alright, here is a car ad, I believe. Alright, this is for Dodge. Alright, and this was Grant Morrison and Gene Ha on The Authority. I don't know how many issues. Maybe 2 issues came out of this. But I think Gene Ha is a wonderful stylist. You know, that looks really cool. The submarine looks distinct. Once again, don't know if it deserves a full page for that, but... Oh, wow, this is very, very different than the Gene Ha I'm used to. Very little dialogue. I see like 2 word balloons on a 2-page spread. Oh, there we go with ads again. And another unnecessary, like, 1-page splash there. At least the game is Sam & Max. That's cool. Oh, another ad. I don't know if that was a DC thing or what. But that's a lot of ads. No, that other book was Marvel, wasn't it? So maybe it's just corporate books. 1 page, 1 more ad. There we go. This is more like the panels I was expecting from Bendis, except I think a little more creative layout. Even though he did a lot of the same thing, at least it was different from mainstream comics. Another ad for Dungeon Siege. Here we go. I don't know. I think this is kind of muddy stuff. I think that Gene Hawes' earlier stuff was a lot more readable. All right, let's flip one more. Once again, a woman carrying a briefcase or a suitcase, not really deserving of a one-page spread, in my opinion. I've done a few one-page spreads in my book, and they usually have an impact or a big revelation. That seems to be some woman walking in with a briefcase. I'm not very impressed. I don't know who the reveal is. Maybe that's a famous character from the Authority. I don't know. Okay. Oh, there we go. Here's one of my friend's books. This is The Adventures of Philip K. by Sam Tusanis. Oh, I already see the next book too. Hold on a second, I'm going to flip to the middle here. Now, this is more exciting to me than the stuff that's going on in the mainstream books. That's really cool, the giant lizards and stuff. Let's flip to another page. Here we go. I'd say that any of these panels could have just as well have been a one-page spread as compared to those mainstream books. There seems to be a surrealist quality here. There's almost like a dreaminess to them. Here's the next page, and I think this is our first shot of the protagonist here. The dude with the pointy head. Alright, let's go one more flip. Oh, there's one ad. One ad versus a million in the last couple books. Here we go. And here's an advertisement for Dishoom by Sam J. Royale on the very last, the inside back cover of the issue. Check him out. Sam, as you know, has worked on the first couple of covers for my series, Papa Balloon and Cactus, and he designed the logo, which I still use to this day. I'm on the 7th issue right now. It's not published yet. But check him out. He's really talented, really good at what he does. All right, and then last, we have Infernals. This is by Len Danzig. Here we go. And Simon Bisley, or Bisley, or however you pronounce it. And by this page, this issue, I'm not impressed by his artwork anymore. Let me see. There you go. I think it might be the coloring or something is really off with this crap. I don't like what I see anymore. He seems to have lost either his skill or he's depending on his colorist to do some of the heavy lifting. Look at that demon head. Like, you look back at the Lobo stuff and you realize how much that Keith Giffen was bringing to the table. He was doing a lot of the layouts for the stuff that Simon Bisley or Bisley had been putting out. Here we go. Not very impressive. I bought this for the Bisley name. I wanted to see what he'd been up to in the past few years. And come on. That lack of detail is just crap. Alright, let's go one more flip. It's got boobage. Well, here's one with an ad for something called Muerta. I say the art from Muerta seems a little more impressive than the Simon Bisley art. Alright. Doesn't want to flip very easily. Alright, well, I just had on the very last page, on the inside back cover, lots of Danzig ads towards the end. I guess it makes sense since this is published by Danzig. Not obviously written by Danzig, but I'd say he's more impressive as a publisher, and that's not really saying much. Okay. Now let's see, do I have my book handy? Let me pause this. I don't have the book handy.